Back bends. Back bends in yoga can be the nemesis for a lot of people. And a large percentage of our population do suffer from lower back issues. So there are two things that I would, tips for you to consider when you're doing any form of back bending is firstly to reframe in your mind the concept of having to bend backwards as far as you can go. And then the second thing is to actually think about where the movement is happening, okay, the pivot point along the spine. So the first thing is, rather than think of bending back as far as you can, think about stretching and opening the front body. Because when I think about bending back as far as I can you see the hips are thrusted forwards and my lower back takes a lot of the brunt of the movement. And you know, we just don't need to put our lower backs under that much pressure. So instead, I'm looking to keep everything here still, and I'm lifting the chest. And then imagine there's a bar, like a high jump, high jump bar, round about here, so the middle of the back, just under the shoulder blades. And whilst I'm keeping everything here, and I can squeeze my buttocks, that can help give the lower back a little bit more support and stability. So with everything sort of held in tight, I'm now lifting my upper body, and then imagine I'm trying to roll my shoulders over that bar. So now I feel a stretch through the abdominal wall, feel my chest opening as opposed to pressure through the lower back. And that's the same if you're on your knees doing things like camel, which is here. All right, it's the same. So keeping the hips directly over the knees, you know, holding everything stable. I'm starting to engage my buttock muscles slightly for stability. And then I breathe in, I start to lift the chest and then start to really open. Okay, so feeling that stretch. Now, when you're on the floor lying down and taking Cobra Up Dog, it's the same. Just, you know, rather than think about, God, how much of a back bend can I do here? Think about how much of a stretch am I feeling through my front body. So that's the reframe. That's the first thing. The second thing is, where am I meant to actually feel it? Not in your lower back necessarily. Of course, the muscles are going to have to work, but the pivot point is that mid part, where I said this bar or high jump bar or a pole just beneath the shoulder blades, that part of the spine, which is kind of correlates with this here in the front of the body, going right through to the back. And that is where the extension will happen rather than the lower back. And the reason for this really is that, you know, it takes the pressure out of the lower back. I'm not saying that you can, you know, you don't ever go into extension in the lower back area. Of course we do. But we initiate the movement further up the spine. And we start to think about opening the chest and opening the front of the body. Because for most of us, you know, we spend a lot of our time hunched over something, a desk or a computer. And so our posture tends to round forwards. If we can think about opening up, that creates beautiful extension of the spine anyway. And then when you're able to maintain that opening and length, then, you know, feel free to explore and let the extension go even further into the lower back. Okay, so rather than start at the lower back, start higher up around the mid back area and through the upper body first. When you're able to do that comfortably, then start to progress to extension through the rest of the spine.